We are starting the personal finance section, which deals with simple interest, compound interest, and installment payments. Chapter 10 is on simple interest, and 10.1 covers simple interest and maturity value. So interest is a fee paid for use of money. So if you take out a loan, you are paying a fee for borrowing the bank's money, and if you deposit money, the bank pays you a fee in interest because the money that you put in the bank uses for various things. And principal is the amount of the loan or a deposit. Simple interest is interest that is paid only on the principal. When we get to compound interest, then it will be different. So we have the simple interest formula, I equals PRT. Interest is the dollar amount of interest. P is the principal. R is the interest rate in decimal form, and T is time in years. Now, sometimes time is not given in years, and so we need to talk about what to do to get our T. So for time, sometimes the time unit is given in different amounts. If it's given in years, you just simply use the number of years for T. If it's quarters, there are 4 quarters in a year, so you take the number of quarters and you put it over 4. If it's given in months, you take the number of months and put it over 12, because there's 12 months in a year. If it's given in weeks, you put it over the number of weeks over 52, since there are 52 weeks in a year. And if it's given in days, there are 2 types of days. One is called ordinary, where they use 360 days in a year. So you would take the number of days and put it over 360. If it says exact, then that means we use exactly 365 days. So you would take the number of days and put it over 365. We never, ever use 366 in a leap year. This is jumping forward too much. All right, so if it says 17 quarters, that means I will have a time fraction of 17 over 4. If it says 14 weeks, I would have a time fraction of 14 over 52. And if it says 15 months, I have a time fraction of 15 over 12, and so on. And we don't need to reduce any of these because we're going to be using our calculator to evaluate. Now this I equals PRT, we have our mnemonic device here to help us when we're solving for other things besides I. And just like before, whatever we're looking for, we would cover up. And because I is on top and RT are on the bottom, we have I divided by RT. And R is always in decimal form when we use the formula. If we're solving for R, we're going to take I and divide by P times T. Somehow the P didn't get written on here. And then because this is going to be a decimal, I have to multiply it by 100% or move the decimal point over. And if I'm solving for T, then I have I divided by PR. So you have 4 formulas in one. So let's look at a few problems. I have P, R, and T given to me. And so that means I don't know what I is. So I'm going to be finding I equals P is 5,000 times, and R needs to be changed to the decimal form. And this is years, so I don't need to worry about a fraction. I just put the 4. And it doesn't matter whether you use parentheses or time signs. So I'm going to multiply straight across. And the interest is $1,000. Here I have a principal of $1,200, an interest rate of 3.4%, and time this time is in months. So the principal is $1,200. I need to change this to the decimal form. And then because this is 7 months, I need to make a fraction 7 over 12. 7 months out of 12 months. Now, when we do this with the calculator, I have videos showing you how to use the calculator. There is a fraction bar on the calculator when you take 1200 times 0.034. Now you'd want to select your fraction bar button, which is n over d. Put 7 on top, arrow down, and put a 12. And we always round to the nearest hundredth. And here, this is what's on my display, but I need to add a 0 because this is money and I need 2 decimal places. So in this problem, I know I, R, and T. What I don't know is P. So P is going to be the interest divided by rate times time. So the dollar amount of interest is $1,300. My interest rate needs to be changed to a decimal. And this is in years, so I can just put a 12. And using the fraction bar, I don't need to worry about any extra parentheses. So I would have 1,300, choose my fraction bar, and put 0.04 times 12. And I'm going to have to round this to the nearest hundredth, so it's $2,708.33 was the principal. In this problem, I know I, P, and T. What I don't know is R. So R is interest divided by principal times time. So the interest is $241.50. And that's divided by the principal, $575, times 6, and it's years, so I don't need to worry about a fraction. So again, you may want to use your fraction bar to do this. 241.50 over 575 times 6. And I have 0.7. This is rate. And so remember, this is the decimal form of the rate. So I need to multiply by 100% or move the decimal point over, and that is 7%. I know P, R, and I. This time I'm looking for T. T is going to be interest divided by principal times rate. So the interest is $179.55 over 380. And I always need to take the decimal form of my rate. So I'm going to choose my fraction bar, 179.55 over 380 times 0.0525. And I get a 9. And remember, time is in years, so this is 9 years. The last problem here, I have principal, rate, and interest again. Once again, I'm looking for time. And because it says ordinary, I know this is in days, and ordinary is 360 days in a year. So time, again, is going to be interest divided by principal times rate. So one way to do it is to take the interest and divide it by the principal times the rate as a decimal. And when I do that, 25.58 over 4148.25 times 0.06, I get this crazy decimal. And that is a year. So remember when we got T up here, this was years. And so this is years, but I want days. So I'm going to have to multiply this by 360 days per year. And that gives me 36.99 something, and I'm going to round that to the nearest whole year, day, not year, 37 days. So that is one way that you can do the problem. Maturity value is the total amount to be paid back on a loan, and it simply is the principal plus the interest. Now, when we're talking about a deposit, we don't really call it maturity value, we call it the balance, but we're thinking about loans here. And the maturity date is the date by which the loan is to be repaid, and you'll have to use the table of days again. So here I have principal, my rate, and my time. I need to find the interest, so I will take the principal times the rate in decimal form times 4 years. I don't need a fraction because it's years. So 25,300 times 0.0735 times 4 gives me $7,438.20 in interest. So now to find the maturity value, I simply take the principal and add that interest. And again, this is how much we have to pay back on this loan at the end of 4 years, and that is $32,738.20. So here I have principal, rate, and time. So finding the interest, I take the principal times the interest rate in decimal form. And this time I need a fraction because it says 9 months, so I put 9 over 12. Remember to use your fraction bar here. So 1635.52 times 0.1422 times 9 over 12, which gives me about, when I ran to the nearest cent, $174.43. So the maturity value will be the principal plus this interest, which will give me $1,809.95 that needs to be paid back. Now, if the loan was taken on March 15th for 120 days, we need to use the table of days to find the maturity date, very similar to what we were doing in another section. So I'm going to have to look up March 14th on my table of days, or March 15th, and March 15th is day 74. So I'm going to add 74 and 120, and that looks like 194. And now I'm going to look that up on my table, and it is July 13th. So that is the maturity date. That is the date on which we need to pay off that loan. So let's say the loan was taken January 12th, 2017 for 400 days. The day for January 12th is day 12. That's easy. January is always easy. So 12 plus 400 is 412, but there's only 365 days in a year. This is not a leap year, and 2018 was not a leap year. So I need to subtract 365 from the 412. And I get day 47. So I will look up day 47, and that will be February 16th, 2018. So it will be going into the next year, and again, that is the day I have to pay off my loan. And that ends this video.